Hello, hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a Protoss versus Zerg on Akilon Wastes between these two players from the same clan, PSC, representing Purdue StarCraft Club. Of course, I am an attendee of the Purdue University. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce these players. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Akilon Wastes as the purple Zerg, we have representing Team PSC, Purdue StarCraft Club. It is going to be Purdue StarCraft Club's Murazor. And he's actually the club president. He's a very strong Masters level Zerg. And his opponent, spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player, also representing the same team. Again, this is just a nice little friendly team practice match. We have blue Protoss player. His name is Laboof. He is an awesome Masters level Protoss player who has actually been known to play a couple of GMs, as has Murazor. And, you know, they're both really fantastic players, and this game came highly recommended. So, I'm going to go ahead and cast it and see exactly what they like so much about this game. Now, I do actually have no idea what exactly Laboof is doing. I mean, it looks like he's going to be going for some sort of gateway expand, but this could end up being some sort of 4-gate aggression, or it could actually end up being something completely different, as it looks like he hasn't really opted to plant down a gateway just quite yet, and he hasn't opted to plant down a forge or anything. He's banking up a little bit of that money, so we're going to come back to him and see what he ends up doing. He might just be going for a Nexus first with a forge in, or I guess the pylon in base, and then going into a forge. I know he has been known to do a couple of things like that, and yeah, it looks like that's going to be the case. In the meanwhile, we just step over into Camp Zerg. We have Murazor just mining those drones. Going to be going for the hatchery first, especially upon seeing exactly what Laboof is up to. He knows that that Nexus is down. There's no chance of any kind of cannon shenanigans going on immediately behind his natural expansion, so he should be safe for a little bit. Should have plenty of time to react to the fact that this forge is now just going to be going up for Laboof. And in the meanwhile, Laboof going to go ahead and get his own scout off. Going to make sure, okay, there's a hatchery over here. I'm not getting 7 pulled or anything. Oh, Laboof being super sneaky. This probe is completely out of the vision of Murazor, so he has to be very, very careful. Hopefully he does end up scouting that out with an overlord. It looks like Laboof just kind of deciding, like, hey, you know what, that hatchery is awfully early right now. I don't think that you have a spawning pool done yet, and that is actually going to be even more true than Laboof might even realize, because there is, in fact, a third down. This is 3 hatcheries before a spawning pool. This is absolutely insane from Murazor. Incredibly greedy play coming out of him, as now we do end up seeing that spawning pool planted down, but oh my god, he still does not realize what's going on, and actually, the photon cannon is going to be going up. The hatchery finishes. Now he realizes what exactly is happening. This could be disastrous right now, and it looks like Laboof already even has a single cannon planted down over at his front. He's going to be safe against most of those little Zergling potential run-bys, unless there is a huge number of Zerglings. So, I mean, Murazor is going to have to do... Oh, wait. This cannon is outside of the range of the hatchery. Oh my god. This is so unfortunate for Laboof right now. He has to plant down a second cannon just to attack the hatchery. Oh no, Laboof. He's definitely going to be having some advantage in the fact that he's delaying mining time and whatnot. But oh man, that's got to be so frustrating. He's just 1 square off. You can even see the cannon could fit right over there. That has got to be so frustrating. But the second cannon does finish. We're gonna have to see if Murazor can hold this off. He's building a spine crawler, and I think that he should actually be able to handle this. It shouldn't be that much of an issue right now, considering that the spine crawler should finish with plenty of time left over to finally pick off this cannon. A spine crawler does outrange a cannon by exactly 1 range, so as long as you have very, very precise positioning on that spine crawler, you should be able to take out the cannon without taking a single hit on it. There we do end up seeing the unfortunate chrono boost on the completely empty gateway. A bit of miscontrol from Laboof, but he's going to be sending out that zealot, and considering he has a nice little cannon going over here, could actually do some nice damage, especially since that cannon could take out a couple of the Zerglings that Murazor has. And oh my god, it looks like the spine crawler is actually unfortunately in range of that cannon. The queen is also trying to help out. He's going to try and take that down as fast as possible. The spine crawler is actually very, very low in health, but the queen's added DPS might actually make this so that he can kill it in time. And oh, the cannon and the spine crawler both die. Actually, surprisingly, the cannon dies after the, or before the spine crawler, but now we do end up seeing the zealot going after the queen. He wants to do some additional economic damage. We can see over here that it's a relatively even right now, but again, Murazor did go for that very, very fast, I guess, third hatchery that is now acting basically as his natural expansion, because that's where he's sending all of his drones to mine. He can't really mine over here because even though he's taken out the threat to his hatchery, he still has to worry about this threat back over here. Now, in the meanwhile, we actually have a probe over here from Laboof, just getting awesome scouting of the gas timing, so that's going to be kind of nice for him. But in the meanwhile, we do have a macro hatchery going up. This is little zealot being as annoying as possible. He's probably going to be taken out by this queen, or he might actually take out the queen. This is going to be very, very close. Drones actually coming out to help. Unfortunately, don't want to really be engaging the zealot by himself, but he does actually let the zealot get a single kill. So even if he ends up dying, I mean, it's not completely in vain. This cannon just being super annoying. Oh my god, even killing off the queen. Its remains will be scattered amongst that drone line, and hopefully it won't actually get mixed into the minerals. I don't really think you're going to reharvest the minerals from a queen. That would actually be super duper awesome if you could just like harvest from the corpses of your units. But oh my god. Oh my god, Laboof actually going to be planting down the proxy pylon inside of Murazor's base. Murazor has no idea about this. He left that probe a little bit alive for a little bit too long right now, just because he's been dealing with things like these zealots that have just been walking all the way across the map. Additional zealots have made their way in, and they're just killing a ton of these workers. Oh my god, this is super duper unfortunate. 5 drones have already been killed by this point, and that is going to be super annoying. But what's going to be even more annoying is when the warp-ins start coming from this proxy pylon. We actually have a couple of gateways and even a robotic facility already done. So 4 gateways is going to allow a warp-in of 4 zealots at a time. And Murazor, he should know what's going on right now. He should have seen these 2 zealots just mysteriously come in from a side angle. But we actually still have 2 zealots still alive over here. It looks like they warped in 2 over at the natural expansion. And now he's going to be able to take out this hatchery. The Zerglings are actually just trying to deal with the zealots in the main. The zealots in the main get cleaned up. But it looks like the zealots at the natural expansion go uncontested. And they are going to actually get the hatchery. So that is going to put Murazor into a very, very tough spot. He's going to be down a base. And that is just super duper uncomfortable. There are additional zealots streaming, and now they have +1 weapons. Oh my god, that is so scary. Against, it looks like the +0/+0 Zerglings of Murazor. These Zerglings don't even have Carapace even coming on the way. The lair has actually been started, and that's going to be a little bit helpful for him to get some kind of attack. But look at this. Zealots cleaning up. +0 Zergling armors. Just so absolutely insanely quickly, and that is going to be so devastating for Murazor. He doesn't really even have any other tech. These queens are basically the only things he can produce other than Zerglings. Maybe he could get up a spine crawler, but is that really going to help right now? It looks like Laboof is just picking Murazor apart, and oh my god, the observer even going to come in, make sure he gets the scout off on that 3rd expansion, and we'll end up seeing if Murazor decide to, you know, make any spine crawlers or anything at this point. But it looks like he has quite a few number of Zerglings, and the Zealot's actually a little bit on miscontrol from him, but Laboof could have actually got a couple extra hits off, but no big deal. And we do end up seeing the Zealot's getting a huge surround over here in the middle line as well as over here, but here we end up seeing another reinforcing wave of Zealots. God, Laboof is just doing so much damage. Take a look at the units lost, and wow, it's actually surprisingly even. I actually did not expect it to be this even, but Laboof has 4 very healthy Zealots still alive right now. You can still do some good damage. You can actually take out this queen. This queen is running for its life, and that's going to delay so many larva injects right now. As seriously, how many queens has Murazor actually lost? I wish we could have a lost queens tab, as that would be super helpful. But finally, the Zealots are getting cleaned up. Now Murazor needs to pick off these pylon. He needs to pick off this pylon before another warp-in actually comes. And I just want to really quickly note how active actually Laboof has been. It looks like Laboof actually warping in over here and actually doing a little bit of damage with a warp prism. We actually saw the robotic facility, we saw the observer, but now we actually see that there is a warp prism. This game is absolutely insane. He's going to be target firing that spire. That spire is what Murazor has actually been investing so much of his tech in lately, and now it looks like Queen, good target firing on that warp prism, actually managed to take it out, but the spire goes down. The Zealot's going to continue to clean up additional Zerglings, still having that +1 weapons advantage over the Zerglings, and just barely going to get cleaned up. That is super unfortunate. I feel like Murazor is in such an annoyingly difficult position. We see him starting his Spire once again, but he did manage to start a couple of those meals in response to seeing that that Spire was getting sniped. So that's going to be useful for him. He can still do a little bit of harassment. He needs to do something like that because he still hasn't actually cleaned up the natural expansion cannon. That is so super duper annoying. In the meanwhile, we can see Laboof has already gotten up his 3rd expansion. And look at this very healthy pro count, 66 to 52 workers. And that is not something you see very often in Protoss, way ahead of a Zerg in workers as well as expansions. And honestly, he's not even doing that poorly in tech. Yeah, he's a little bit behind, but he still has a robotics facility, so... Oh, actually, you know, I take back what I said. He already has a Templar Archives done. That is going to be super duper awesome, especially for dealing with that little Mutalisk harass that's probably going to be coming in now. I'd love to see him actually just start to pick off some of these overlords that are just kind of sitting around his base. But, of course, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, at this point. He is a little bit low on units. Just wanted to make sure he can take out those destructible rocks and make sure he can actually defend his third. I think that is actually probably going to be a little bit more important right now. But now we do end up seeing Mutals starting to make their charge over into the third expansion of Laboof, as Murazor should be very much aware, especially seeing that seeing these Archons should be a huge tell. Here we end up seeing the Zerglings are going to be coming in from the third expansion. Do see that there are quite a few cans. See the Stalkers as well, and he's actually going to have to back off for a little bit. We'll have to see. I will say, knowing Murazor's playstyle, he likes to be super duper aggressive. He loves to do this Mutalisk harassment, and he is absolutely fantastic at it. If you are a Protoss player, stay away from this guy, as he will just make you want to blow your brains out. Just trying to deal with the Mutalisk harassment is so unbelievably stressful. But now we do end up seeing Laboof has some Archons ready and actually a little bit in position to try and deal with some of those Mutalisk. Now finally that poor Overlord going to actually finally be taken out. That is super duper unfortunate, as he stayed alive for such a long time. 15 minutes and an Overlord just sitting over the national expansion. Not something you see every day, but Murazor is doing a good job. He's keeping most of these Mutalisk alive, really not taking a whole lot of damage, not really actually getting hit by any of those Archons, which is super duper important, and still managed to pick off a couple of those probes here and there. At the same time, he has a couple of Zerglings positioned out over here. Oh, I actually wonder, did he actually end up seeing that War Prism? That War Prism could do a good amount of damage, as we ended up seeing before. He was able to snipe that Spire, and that was actually super duper annoying. But we'll end up seeing if Murazor is actually going to be prepared for that. In the meanwhile, he's going to continue that Mutalisk harassment. I think that his APM actually just might be a little bit, taken over by all this Mutalisk harassment. Ends up losing a couple over there, but look at this. He has already killed 15 workers. He's definitely evened up that worker. Actually, no, I take it back. 90 workers to 60 workers. He's done some good harassment, but really I have to say, behind it, he is just playing so absolutely greedy in terms of just droning up. And I mean, he can actually really afford to do it. He knows that his opponent really can't move out unless he wants to just take insane amounts of damage to the Mutalisk, and that is the exact advantage that Mutalisk will give you against a Protoss player in this kind of stage. They will give you that map control. They stop your opponent from moving out, even if your Mutalisk will just get decimated by Archons and High Templar and all that kind of stuff. Your Protoss opponent really can't move out too safely until they get a really, really nice, big army that will still allow a couple of units to be left over back at home. We do end up seeing a really nice defense from Laboof. Look at that, getting Blink Stalkers in position, getting basically units everywhere in position. And now we probably will end up seeing some Stalkers blink forward, pick off yet another Mutalisk. That Mutalisk is so low on health, actually, sitting just at 14 health. But in the meanwhile, oh, here is what we were talking about. There's that Warp Prism. He is warping in a ton of Zealots, moving the Warp Prism over here just to get a little bit better of an angle. And that's actually going to force the Mutalisk back and the Zerglings back. This is such a smart play from Laboof. Just whenever you are getting completely out harassed right now, you can just send out a Warp Prism and force your opponent to send his units back to defend, because if his units are defending, they're not being on the offensive. That means that your probes are safe, and that is going to be a very, very happy position. So even though Laboof mostly was just killing Zerglings over there, he didn't actually kill that many drones, although these Zealots might actually be able to kill quite a few drones. I mean, Laboof is just doing a fantastic job positionally in this game right now, and that's going to actually allow him to actually push out safely. I love this. He's going to pull his opponent's army back, give himself a little bit of time to actually move out across the map, and the Mutalisk are going to have enough time to retreat back over to Laboof's space and actually do anything. And oh my god, he looks like he is actually going for the Greater Spire right now. There are a couple of Broodlords already morphing, as well as some Broodlords actually already done, and that's going to allow, Laboof a little bit of an opportunity right now, because these Broodlords are actually quite a bit exposed. There we end up seeing a couple High Templar storms going down, and those Broodlords are getting a little bit softened up, but the storms just really not doing enough damage. And this, oh my god, there are so many Broodlings out on the map right now, just surrounding the Stalkers. The Stalkers have to blink out, and unfortunately, they only managed to pick off a couple of those Broodlords, really just not trading too cost effectively for Laboof, and he is just going to be in such an uncomfortable position after doing that, and he's going to be able to get a single free Broodlord over there, but all of this harassment was actually cleaned up in the main base of Murazor, and the War Prism is no longer there, and the Immortals all getting picked picked off. That is actually such a huge win for Murazor. I cannot stress that enough. I think he's really done a great job of bringing himself back in this game in those past, 5 or 10 minutes. And, I mean, Laboof, he's not out of this game by any means. He's still in a very good position right now. Even though he did end up losing that army, he is sitting very comfortably on 3-1 upgrades just to the 0-0 air. And what are the upgrades on these Zerglings? 0-2 on the Zerglings. So they're still actually behind the Zealots right now. So that actually means that those Zealots will still be two-shotting those Zerglings. A very fantastic advantage for Laboof to have. And I mean, just having this many Archons, still having a good amount of tech, having all those High Templar out. Oh, and here we end up seeing that transition into that Sky Toss play that is so feared. But oh, look at this, Murazor with the key and critical timing on those Zerglings, just getting a great scout off on the Void Ray is super duper lucky scouting over there. And that's going to tip him off a little bit. He's going to know he has to make sure he has some anti-air prepared for the next engagement. Oh my god, look at that Greater Spire. That Greater Spire was so close to dying from that Zealot harassment, from that War Prism earlier on when we saw that engagement out here with the Broodlords. But now comes a really interesting time because, Murazor has a very scary army of Broodlords, but he doesn't really have a lot of Infestors or anything. Instead, he's actually just complementing the army with Ultralisk, and Ultralisk is a very interesting choice. I do like it a little bit, just because, I mean, he's been researching Carapace armor, and oh, hold that thought, we actually have an engagement going to be going down, some storms going to be going down on top of the Broodlords. Broodlords taking a little bit of damage. The Blade forward, they're going to be able to start sniping off some of those Broodlords. The Voider is also going to be super duper effective. I don't think there's any anti-air right now. Oh no, Murazor might have had a critical blunder right now, as he is just going to be taking so much damage. Once these Zerglings are cleaned up, the Broodlords are going to be the next thing. Focus fire down, and all of the Broodlords are going to be completely evaporated, and that is going to be so frustrating for Murazor at this point. Really, he just has Zerglings and Ultralisk. Ultralisk are going to be doing a very good job at dealing with some of this ground force, but how does he answer the Void Rays? The Void Rays are going to be so strong, they're going to do so much damage. They actually do additional damage to those armored Ultralisks when they start charging up with that ability. I can't even remember what the ability is called. Prismatic Alignment. But it looks like, I like this decision from Laboof. He just says, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do as much damage as possible as long as I have this army. And how exactly is my opponent going to respond? I mean, I can send a couple of Voiders over here, take out that 4th expansion. Yeah, the 4th expansion, or I guess the 3rd expansion really, is mined out already. But still, being able to take that is going to reduce the larva count. I'm actually surprised he's not going after that Hydralisk den. Looks like he just doesn't want to be caught a little bit out of position with these Voiders, especially if he's on creep. Those Hydralisks can actually snipe those Voiders insanely quickly, and that is not something you want to deal with. In the meanwhile, it looks like Murazor just gearing up to do a little bit of counter-attacking action as Laboof has tried to establish that 4th expansion. That's going to be pretty critical as he's starting to get a little bit mined out. It's coming to the 25-minute mark, but now he's going to actually be able to do a great job picking off all of these Ultras. The Ultras actually doing some great cleave damage to those Zealots, but unfortunately, these Voiders are definitely just going to spell complete end to the Ultras harassment. I almost wish that it could be Ultras drop harassment, but oh my god, this Ultra is actually in a prime position to get some. Oh my god, he is getting so many probe kills, and finally we end up seeing the pull from Laboof, and luckily those probes are actually going to get away, and oh, they have to be so careful, as Ultralisk cleave is actually a very scary. You do not want to be losing stuff to that Ultralisk cleave, but he does manage to finally kill everything off, and now he does end up having not actually that many Archons left over. So the Archons have been doing a good job tanking damage, but oh, look at this. We actually have some remaining Mutalisks, and they're just doing some nice damage. I'll actually take a look at the kill count on some of these Mutalisks. We have 6 kills on this one, 3 kills, 3 kills, 7 kills, 4 kills. And just going to be looking to depower a couple of these pylons. Does not want to be seeing any more Stargate units, it looks like, and he's going to continue to harass. Once he gets this pylon, probably going to just back out maybe over to the, I guess the natural expansion, pick off a couple of probes over there, and continue to be moving around and being as annoying as possible. And it's going to work out pretty well, considering Laboof is a little bit out of position with most of his army. And at the same time, look at this. He's doing some really ridiculous harassment with such a few number of Mutals. He's actually killing off quite a few probes. At this point in the game, we've had 35 35 probe kills and 59 drone kills. This has been such a blow-for-blow game. I do not even know what to make of it, but Fortunately, it looks like Laboof finally getting some of those guys back into gas and back into mining, as Laboof is just sitting at 49 workers. I feel like he probably has a couple that he can transfer over from somewhere. I actually don't really know where. But for the most part, this game is just being very, very stressful for both of these players, I'm sure. It looks like Murazor wants to start doing some counter-attacking harassment again over at that third expansion. Going to be trying to knock down the destructible rocks. But Laboof is going for a little bit more than just a little counter-attack. He's going to be going for an all-out attack, basically, with most of his army over to these third expansion. I keep forgetting, this is the fourth expansion. Yeah, and he's going to be able to take that. Oh my god, Voiders take that down so quickly. And even the High Templar will be able to storm some of those drones. No, it doesn't look like he's going to be going for it. Instead, he's just going to go ahead and retreat home. And I think that's a wise decision. He wants to make sure that he's able to at least defend his third over here, even though those Zerglings are not really able to do a whole lot of damage to the destructible rocks without taking a ton of fire, especially if there were a couple of Archons prepared over there. Oh, hold that thought. We actually end up seeing a ton of Infestors coming in, and there's some great fungals locking down all those High Templar. And oh my god, the Voiders, they're so clumped up on top of those Archons and the Stalkers, and it's just taking so much damage. And look at this. Whoever said that fungal was a bad skill in Heart of the Swarm was completely lied to you. They're just locking down all these Voiders. They are unable to retreat up until that point, and that is going to be such a devastating blow to Laboof. He was doing so well. I feel like he had the very scary army composition. He was sniping bases. He was doing a great job defending his fourth expansion, defending his third expansion. But with those fungals, he just lost so much of that air army advantage, I have to say. And now he has to make some kind of recovery. He's going to be falling a little bit behind. The supply count is very even, but I feel like right now he has to have some kind of answer to this Infestor count, as well as even the Hydrals count. He's going to be warping a couple of Zealots. That's going to be very good for him. He needs some units immediately right now. These Zealots are going to be able to do a good job just being very cost effective in these small little engagements, in these scrappy engagements. And oh, this Storm's definitely going to be very good at being, I guess, in just small scrappy engagements. So he's going to be able to clean most of that up out of here. We end up seeing a nice little Zergling run by. It looks like it'll probably end up getting cleaned up, especially with Charged Zealots just running in and charging at those poor little Zerglings. I mean, if they were the Carbot and Zerglings, they'd just be the saddest things in the world. But of course, these are just bloodthirsty ones. I mean, we've seen Murazor's Zerglings. They have just been out for blood this game, as well as all of his units, his Mutalisks, his freaking Broodlords, his Infestors, everything just really being so devastating. Greater Spire is very low on health, and I'd actually love to see Laboof go for a little bit of additional harassment. But of course, I'd also like to see Murazor maybe try and go and protect his Spire a little bit, get up some greater, some Spine Claws. Although I guess he is very cut for minerals, as just the mining in this game has been very difficult for both of these players. We can see 49 drones to 53 probes, and that's just not something you see at this point in the game very often. In the meanwhile, it looks a couple Zerglings getting stormed, and they're probably going to all get picked off, especially if they decide to engage that army. But the Infestors are going to be there just trying to delay some of these Zealots. The Zealots actually not completely getting locked down, so a couple of Zealots actually even flanking, and the Storm's going down. Oh my god, how many Infestors just got picked off over there? That is so much gas completely lost by Murazor, and that is not a position you want to be in. And this game is just constantly flipping back and forth. Unfortunately, Murazor even sacrificing a couple of those Zerglings, but the Baneling's going to try and make some connections over the Zealots. Good pullback from Laboof, able to save most of those Zealots, not really actually allowing them to get picked off at this point. And at the same time doing some nice harassment. Actually even pulling all the Mutals out of position over here to try and defend, but it is a little bit too late. That base is already sniped off. Additional Zealots going to be sniping off this expansion, as I mean, there's really nothing to defend it over there, as this little small army and this little, I guess the Mothership Core, 2 Void Rays, and a handful of Stalkers, and I think a single Zealot was in there, but just sniping off incoming Mutalisks. But wow, I just don't think that Murazor has a response right now. He is probably going to be trying to macro up a little bit of an army, whatever he can manage right now, with a couple of Zerglings. Going to actually be going in with some Mutalisks to try and do a little bit of harassment. Says, you know what, if I can't deal with your big army, and I say big army in quotations because this is a pretty small and scrappy army, but he's going to try and do some counter harassment, but it's just not working out. It looks like Laboof is actually positioned very well across the map, has a couple of Stalkers, has a couple of Templar just spread everywhere that he needs to defend, as well as wherever he's attacking. He's even going after that natural expansion. Does get cleaned up by drones, so these are the warrior drones trying to do as much damage as possible, but these drones are the defenseless, innocent women and children drones getting completely slaughtered by the Void Rays and the Stalkers and the Mothership Core. and that is super duper unfortunate. We're down to 32 drones to 49 probes, and just the income, oh my god, the income of Murazor is actually literally 0. He literally is not mining right now up until this exact moment we started mining again at that natural expansion. But still, this is such a scrappy game. Even a Laboof, very, very low on that worker count and really doesn't have a whole lot of mining besides this 4th expansion. This 4th expansion is what is basically keeping him in this game. The Mules are continuing to harass, and they're actually doing a surprising amount of damage over there, but it's just so difficult. He still needs to have some kind of answer to all this harassment that Laboof is doing, and really he doesn't have an economy to produce enough units to actually deal with this. Laboof actually going to be going for the sniping over on this natural expansion. That's going to be so annoying to actually reproduce, as that is basically where he was the only place he was mining on the map, and now he's going to have to long distance mine over all the way to his hive in his main base. So even getting out with the stalkers, I think, no, did not actually manage to get out with the stalkers, got it surrounded by all those speed Zerglings, and that is very advantageous as he needs to kill off as many units as he can right now. But still, being able to delay that mining, that basically means that for the most part, I mean, yeah, a couple of units here and there will be able to be produced, but oh, actually, no, we're not going to see any units produced. So it looks like Murazor has had it. He's going to just go all in with all of his drones. He's going to try and pick off these stalkers. Stalkers blinking away because those drones are trying to whack away at them with those minerals in their hand. But mineral drones do not do too well against Archons. These Archons are going to be the happiest Archons in the world, just doing insane amounts of splash damage. There's going to be the GG coming out from Murazor. Is a fantastic game going to the 36-minute mark. Just really back and forth, scrappy engagements, bases sniped off everywhere, probes being killed by Mutalists and Broodlords and Ultralists and everything. I think we almost saw every single Zerg unit except for the Swarm Host, and I guess maybe, well, actually, I guess we didn't really see any Roaches. Swarm Host, Roaches, and Vipers are pretty much the only units. That was an insane game, so thank you so much to the players for playing this game and it's actually sending me the replay to actually have casted. It was really enjoyed casting this. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys have been checking out my channel in the past couple of months, you might have seen me uploading a couple After Hours Gaming League casts, you know, here and there and everything. I've actually been super duper busy just with school. I'm a student at Purdue University, which is the same school that these players both attend and play for the Collegiate Star League team. And actually, they're going to be playing for the Underrated Team League, which I'm going to be casting for also. But I mean, I've just been super busy with classes and whatnot, and you know, kind of all started after winter break, where, you know, during Christmas time and all that stuff, I didn't really have access to my casting rig, and that kind of made it a little bit hard to actually start casting. And then classes start up. Oh, you know, I'm sure all of you who are still in school or were in school know what I'm talking about when I say things can get a little bit hectic. But I am looking to make my return. I'm going to try and be a little bit more active about casting. So here's the plan. I'll just kind of give you guys the breakdown. I want to be casting around 4 or so games a week. So probably not going to be seeing as many of the full best of threes released all in one day. I'm probably going to be spreading them out across a week. But I am definitely looking forward to a lot of that stuff. I'm also going to be casting for the URTL, so if you're looking for your daily, or probably not daily, but, you know, weekly or whatever, Fear Dragon content absorption needs, you can go ahead and check out the Underrated Team League over at twitch.tv/URgaming. And yeah, I'm going to be super excited to cast a bunch of those games, as we have some awesome teams, including the Purdue StarCraft Club. So if you like Murazor or Laboof style of play, I really actually enjoy watching both of these players play. They're absolutely fantastic and super fun to watch. Both of them do end up streaming also at pretty predictable names. I think actually Murazor is at twitch.tv/Murazor77 instead of Murazor. I don't even know why he did that. But and then twitch.tv/Laboof, so you can check them out. But yeah, I'm going to be casting for the URTL and trying to upload a couple of videos a week to the YouTubes. And, you know, I'm actually hoping that I'll have graduation done and whatnot soon. And after that, I'll have a lot more free time to actually do some more casting. And, you know, hopefully I'll be able to get out more content that you guys will actually enjoy. So Yeah, if you guys actually have any replays that you want to be casted, please send them over to feardragon64@gmail.com. Replays like this are so much fun to cast, especially when you have a good game. I know a ton of you guys are playing Heart of the Swarm, even though you weren't playing Wings of Liberty as much. You kind of got stressed out, kind of got burnt out of Wings of Liberty. I know I was there too. With just playing so much Heart of the Swarm. It is absolutely fun, and I know that you guys have played some super awesome close base race games, or just awesome games where you go for some really quirky or ridiculous strategy, or maybe even had ridiculous strategy done against you, and I'd love to actually see those games. Please send them over to feardragon64@gmail.com. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed my commentary in any capacity whatsoever, in which case, please go ahead and subscribe, comment, like, do all that good stuff. My name has been Fear Dragon, is still Fear Dragon, and will continue to be your Fear Dragon. I will see you guys next time. Peace.